This podcast contains swear words.
Well, hello, and welcome to Talking Shit with Cheyenne, a podcast where I interview art makers, artists, creative folks from all over Canada, especially the west coast of Turtle Island. Well, we're all coming from the perspective of art making, performing artists for the most part. This podcast is for everyone. Whether you consider yourself an artist or not, life is a creative act. You know it is. I know, but it is. And who am I? Well, I'm your host, Cheyenne Friedenberg, and I am a person who is tired, but I'm also a choreographer, actor, dancer, writer, and educator living on the unceded, stolen ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations on the west coast of Turtle Island. Okay, before we get rolling with my interview for today, which is delightful, I'm very excited to share it with you. I would like to ask, request, sideways glance to rate, review, share this podcast. It really does make a difference. The old algorithms, I don't really understand that kind of thing, but apparently easier for people to find. So if they're looking for, art making podcasts, they'll maybe find us, which is really helpful. And if you have the means, inclination, a donation is always welcome, however small, however big. You can go to www.terracheyenne.com, upper right-hand corner, click the donate button, or we will link to that very place in the show notes. My guest today is the fantastic artist, Sara Vickruck, they, them. I have known Sara for quite a while. I first was the choreographer on West Side Story for Tuts, Theater Under the Stars here on the West Coast, and Sara was in that production and kind of, fell in art love with them. So much energy, so creative, so funny. But now I'm going to actually go into their bio because that's just my impression. What more can I tell you about Sara? Sara is an award-winning queer multi-disciplinary performer, host, musician, songwriter, sound designer, and creator living on the unceded territories of the Halkomelem speaking peoples. They work both on screen and on stage in many venues across the country. Sara is a Jessie Richardson Award winner and an Equity Stage West 2020 Emerging Artist Award winner. You may know them from the critically acclaimed show Polly Queer Love Ballad, a slam poetry musical, as Mercutio from Bard on the Beaches Romeo and Juliet. That was just last summer, so if you caught that, what a treat. Or perhaps as part of the band The Quarantettes. I will post the whole bio on the show notes. Sara is somebody to follow, somebody to watch, and somebody who I quite adore. Welcome, the Sara Vickruck, they, them, to Talking Shit with Cheyenne. I'm so glad you're here, Sara. We've known each other for a hot minute, or many now.
What year was that? 2016?
I want to say 16 or 15 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were a younger person. I was a younger person.
Yeah. Everyone was younger, yeah.
Yeah, that is so true, isn't it? Everybody was.
Oh.
Everybody was younger then. It's so nice to be able to talk to you. You are one of my favorite Vancouver artists. Artists in general.
Thanks.
Really.
That's really kind because I like you a lot too.
Aw. Thanks. Before I start asking you questions, I have to share this with you.
Okay.
I was talking to a colleague recently, and we were talking about how when Sara reads a script, the problem is Sara will make something that actually might not be great writing sound like great writing, which is, great if you're casting Sara, but Sara might get a better gig and you might have to cast somebody else. And then you might find out that, it wasn't the writing. It was Sara.
You were talking to Joanna is who you're probably talking to.
I was not talking to Joanna, our friend Joanna Garfinkel, who I've interviewed on this podcast.
Yes.
You can go back and listen to that episode.
Yes, you can. She speaks so well.
I know.
I don't know. Her thoughts are just so organized. So good.
Yeah. Organized thoughts. My brain does not work like that.
No. Joanna is so intelligent. Sometimes we'll be in, because I also work a fair bit with Joanna. I'll be in spaces with Joanna and she'll be talking and I'll be like, I don't know what you just, like, I'll lose. Like, I don't know what you just said. I feel like I lost you.
Right? I know. Sometimes I just like, okay, I feel like I should know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm old enough to go, hey, Joanna, can you rephrase that in like really simple back of a cereal box sort of words for me?
Yeah, I've gotten better in the last couple of years of being like, I don't know what that word means. You know, like,
yeah. Isn't that a gift? Isn't that a gift?
You know, it's a process.
Yeah.
And you have to be in a room of people that you think won't think less of you. So.
Oh, I know. It's so boring having to pretend you know what everything means.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Sarah.
Yes.
So you are an actor.
Mm-hmm.
You are a musician.
Mm-hmm.
You are a sound designer.
Mm-hmm.
You are a creator. Is there anything I'm missing there?
Yeah, I guess like sometimes I produce.
Right.
Sometimes I write, which is creating. And sometimes I teach, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think that about covers it.
Wow.
Singer-songwriter, which is in the musician train, but you know.
Yeah. But not all musicians write.
No. And in fact, I'm probably like, I tend more towards singer-songwriting than I would just straight musicianing, but I straight musician sometimes too.
It's so funny. Hey, all these things we do, they overlap and they inform each other. And just to reflect on what you were just saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, in an age, I hope, where people can kind of take it all in and be what they're interested in without this. Like, I feel like in the older days, if you were a musician, you had to be like conservatory musician. You had to be like like a session musician. Like those kind of people were just like, whoa, and you could never make any mistakes. Do you know what I mean? What do you think of that?
I've talked about this actually quite a bit in the last few weeks. The conversation has come up. I mean, I guess it comes up all the time because it seems like artists all around me, everybody has to be able to do 10 different things to try and maintain a career or just make the work they want to make happen. And yeah, so the lines are blurred, but you know what? My jury is out on what feels, because I can feel so overwhelmed by the amount of choices to make and sort of the amount of options I could take, not knowing which one's going to lead where, that sometimes I wish like, well, I'm going to say this. I don't fully wish it, but I wonder, that's what I do. I wonder if all I quote unquote could be was an actor. I mean, there'd probably be part of me that wasn't fully fulfilled, but like, what would my skill set be like in that technique? Let's say, would it be easier? Would there be a little less? Would I go further? As I'm saying these things, I'm like questioning, what does that even mean to go further? What is good? What is bad? But I think it links into what we see happening societally with people getting to the end of high school, let's say, and being numbed by the amount of choices and not knowing what to do with themselves. So they stay stagnant maybe for a little while. That comes with, I think, outside expectations or what they think other people want of them. But so I feel like that has infiltrated the arts community, and it also exists there sometimes too. I think the overwhelm of everything and not knowing which way to go, at least I've found, we've had conversations about this, is overwhelming. And I think it's great because I think it's making it easier for anyone to create things, because we're starting to tear down that idea.
Yeah.
Even in grants that we write, we're starting ideas of like what makes someone professional.
Yeah.
Is being torn down. And until that seeps all the way to the top, which in a capitalist society, I don't think we're ever going to get there.
I know. They're really slow fuckers.
We won't fully.
Ugh.
Yeah. Bureaucracy. And anyway, Okay, that's my answer to that question.
That's a good answer. I sometimes I have that craving for, I guess it's like a Paleolithic time when in the group you had your things and you did your things.
Yeah.
And you were the storyteller, and then that's
Yeah.
cool. And somebody else was, making the thing out of the thing. As opposed to, there's like a paralysis in options.
Yes.
But I think there's like a freedom in knowing that every decision you make is going to cut off a bunch of other decisions, and that's okay. And it's going to open up other doors that you didn't even know were there. But it can be frightening, hey?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if I find that comforting or frightening. And we'll cut off other options. Oh,
Right? No.
But what do I want?
Are you the kind of person who like really wants to research it, figure out like, okay, what's the best decision?
No. I mean, I do not have that tendency. What I really want is to understand my gut enough to do it. The problem is your gut instincts, or at least for me, gets so clouded by past experiences. If you have any sort of like trauma in your past, that affects your gut feelings. What I wish is, what I aspire to, and I've had varying degrees of success in my life, is when something gets offered to me and I have the impulse of yes or no, and then I have the like fortitude or the like confidence or no anxiety to just do that which I feel is the right thing to do. I'm not a researchy person. I want to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hear you. I don't like those rooms where there's a lot of sitting around and talking about what we're going to do. Can we just do it and see what happens?
Yeah. The thing I do like about table work, which I feel is like a lot of like sitting down and talking.
Oh, yeah.
Is I like understanding who, mostly it's the direct, I mean, it's the actors too, but it's like whoever is going to be unifying the production. I want to understand their view of what's happening. And I want to know what the other character is feeling so that our performance can be inspired by each other. So I agree. I'd rather just do, although at some point in time, I want to understand what the full picture looks like.
Yeah, that's a good point. So just for the listener, when Sara says table work in theater, often the first day is you read the thing off the page.
Yeah.
And then you spend sometimes days and days and days.
Days and days and days.
Oh, thank you. Perfect. Oh, it's perfect. Talking. Sometimes it goes on forever. As a mover choreographer, I'm usually like just twisting in the wind, just like, all right,
yeah,
I do want to understand it all. I want to know where you're coming from, but can we do that on our feet? You're in rehearsal for Bard on the Beach.
We haven't started just yet.
You haven't started yet.
I've started my prep, but we haven't started yet. We start May 23rd. So in 2 weeks or something like that, or yeah.
Nice. So Sara, you've been part of Bard on the Beach. So Bard on the Beach is mostly Shakespeare here on the West Coast, big tent. People, they love it. They love to come to the Bard on the Beach and see the people with the Shakespeare and the talking. And I've done many choreographic, contributions.
Yeah.
How many seasons have you done with Bard?
This will be 3rd season.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you playing this year and what show?
So this year I'm understudying, and I'm understudying in Henry V, and I'm covering 4 actor tracks. So it's 9 characters in total.
Holy shit.
You're telling me, Tara. So a bunch of them I'm understudying, but I am understudying the title role, Henry V.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to come when you're playing Henry V.
Me too.
Yeah.
I hope I get a chance to do that one. But you know who else I'm really excited to understudy is the chorus. In this one, the chorus has, like, if people are familiar with Shakespeare, has that like iconic monologue of, oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heavens of invention. And the chorus in this, like, people can do it as a quote unquote chorus or one character playing that is titled chorus or that's name is chorus.
Right.
And this production, it will be one person and their character name is chorus. And yeah, they get to do, they're fun. They're like the narrator, I guess.
Yeah.
And they get to have that, or at least as I'm reading it, I'm seeing that sort of relationship with the audience that brings them in. And I guess I like that feeling. I like that mechanism, but that's not what the word is. Whatever, in theater, when somebody's sort of like narrating or talking to the audience.
It's like the person who gets to be omnipotent and gets to break that fourth wall.
Yeah. And you kind of just like, you get to be kind of just fun and charming, you know?
Those are 2 words I would use to describe you all the time.
Thank you.
You are that kind of performer that I see like breaking the fourth wall. Do you kind of love that?
I do. Yeah, I do.
What's your like favorite role that you've played thus far in your career as an actor?
Oh, okay.
Or top couple?
Yeah. Okay. I think like, okay, I'll go this way. I did a show with Shameless Hussies called Love Bomb, which was kind of like my breakout role in the Vancouver scene.
Oh, it was so good.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. And I'm going to say 2 though. I'm going to quickly talk through this one and then say the next one.
Okay.
But I got to play guitar and I'm going to talk about both, Tara, but I'm going to start here because I want to go back to our comment about we didn't call it this before, but multi-disciplinary is another way to refer to it.
Yeah.
I have multiple times in my career been like, I'm done.
Oh, yes.
I'm done with this acting thing. And then, or theater in general, I'm done with this career path. And so have left it, quote unquote, multiple times. And then, so at one point in time, I was like corporate training, opening restaurants across Canada. And I was like, yeah, and I'm going to play music and write an album. And that's going to be my creative outlet because I was starting to do that anyway. So I did. I created music. I self-produced an EP. And then all of a sudden, my roommate, who was friends with a board member on Shameless Hussies, was looking for mostly a musician who could act because their show needed someone to play 11 songs on guitar and sing. So they needed to have that comfortability. And I actually was an actor first, but I had taken some time off and had been playing a lot of open mics and doing shows that way. So I was getting a lot more experience playing in front of audiences and playing live. And years prior, I had written a song about sex trafficking with a friend who was doing a presentation on sex trafficking. Anyway, and so all of those things ended up coming together in this way. If I hadn't taken that time off to just play music and really not, I don't know that would I have been strong enough or would I have had the confidence in myself? So, and then I got that role, which allowed me to break into the Vancouver theater scene. Then people would start seeing me in auditions and then people knew who I was. And so that is uno, because of what it did for my career, because I love playing guitar, because of the people I got to work with, Steve Charles, I love Steve. And we like wrestle every time we hang out. So like, he's just like a brother or something. I don't know. And I kind of like got Rockstar Boot Camp was kind of like what I was getting paid to like learn how to be a better musician.
Oh, Rockstar Boot Camp. That's awesome. Steve is a musician, songwriter, performer,
musical director. Yeah.
In Vancouver. Yeah. We'll link to him in the show notes. He's got great projects.
Yeah. And so I got to sing and play music, which I love to do when I get to also act. So, okay. Can I say number 2?
Yeah. I love it.
And I'll go through this quickly. So then I got to there's a musical called Fun Home, which is written by Alison Bechdel, who's, I'm not sure if they've changed how they identify, but is a lesbian. And I think that was the first or maybe the only musical, at least at the time, it was like the first musical with a lesbian lead in it. I think it may still be, but pretty big deal. They were doing it at the Arts Club. So that was also a big thing. Now I was going to be in the Arts Club, which is, one of the biggest companies in Vancouver. Not only was I acting, but they also got me to play guitar in the quote unquote pit, which is in theater where like the musicians hang out. They call it sometimes the pit because it used to be literally under the stage in a lot of theater past. So I was actually playing the orchestra music for guitar, which I learned guitar self-taught. So I had to like really work to read the sheet music and how it relates to guitar and blah, blah, blah. So there was a lot of work that went into that. And I threw out my arm, which started a whole series of whatever. But I loved that I would walk off stage, I'd run around the thing, sit down, pick up the guitar, and away I went. And then I would put the guitar down, I'd turn around, wow, someone would hand me my jacket, and then I would walk out on stage. So it was really like, ooh, fun. And I got to be the stud character. This is going to lead into gender stuff. I grew up not playing. I wasn't the type of person that was going to get cast as the lead anything.
Yeah.
I was going to be the quirky sister, the best friend. In college, I was like the aunt or the older characters I would play. I knew I was good. I was good enough, like, because my teachers would tell me, like, it's not like I wasn't talented enough or I didn't have the right skills. It's that I didn't look the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't necessarily have that energy. I came out in my mid 20s or early 20s. So I was through college by that point in time and through most of my actor training formal by that time. So, but in my childhood and in my life, I always saw myself as like the person on the horse who was like saving whoever was trapped, or I was going on the adventure. I was the, quote unquote dude or the boy or the guy in these films and stories. And, the one who gets to propose, not the one who's proposed to, or like I was
the protagonist. I think they call that the protagonist, the interesting character, not the decorative character.
Yeah. And so I never saw myself as attractive or desirable, period. And before I came out, like I never saw myself that way. So now I'm in Fun Home, and the role that I was playing, Joan, is the love interest of the lead character. For simplicity's sake, that's just what I'll say.
Yeah.
Of the lead character, she sings a song about me, Joan, and like how much, and I'm responsible for her sort of like awakening into her own queerness. And so I got to be the character on stage that was totally confident in who I was and my sexuality, and was the stud character, was the character that like people are like swooning over, Yeah, it was a really big deal for me to get to be seen that way, because I never was. I've never felt that way before, but I always had hoped I would be.
Yeah.
In my heart, that's who and so, I mean, my current partner now would like come to the show and be like, oh, and then other artists we do this thing with the audience where you collect money for the Actors Fund when the show is ending, and the audience would like walk by. So there's actors in the audience holding these hats, and I would do the speech on stage because I like being the center of attention. And then apparently, as like people are walking out of the theater, like the lead characters are like holding this pin, and they're like, oh, that Joan character. And these are like older than me women, let's say, like in their 50s, maybe it's 40s, 50s, which are not old. They're just older than me.
Yeah. Older, not old.
And not my dating age range at that point in time, we'll say. So like, but anyways, they're the ones that are walking past and you're like, oh, if I was younger, or like, oh, if I wasn't straight, or like all these things, like putting these hats. I was like, yeah.
Oh,
anyway.
Delicious.
Yeah.
And do you feel now like you get more opportunities to play those kind of characters? What's the reading on how things are going that way in terms of the milieu?
So it's an interesting journey, because it's not only the industry, both film and theater or performance, let's say, trying to figure out how to deal with gender, but it's also the people themselves trying to figure out what to do with gender. So I'd say like the thing that really happened there for me was so good. And now it's hard-ish. I'm starting to get to the age range where I'm no longer, isn't it funny? But I'm getting to the age range where I'm going to probably start flipping into playing, not quite in theater yet, but in film, start playing like mothers and slightly older characters. And I don't think we've figured out how to include gender diversity there yet, gender fluidity. It's happening a lot more for younger shows. I just taught high school drama festival last weekend. I did a few workshops, and pronouns are no problem for those people.
Fantastic.
People are using multiple pronouns and like correcting themselves. And when you watch, not all TV, but TV for that they're creating for those age groups, there's more like sexual orientation diversity. And then there's starting to be more non-binary and gender fluid stuff. But it's still really stinted. And I think it's because it's so quickly changing. And as I said before, it's the people inside it. Right now, I'm just trying to get involved with a bit more trans communities within theater and films, just because that's my areas of interest. But because what I'm going through is so different from the person next to me, and how they present themselves is so different than the person next to me. So I want to understand my community, and I can understand how it's hard from the outside to understand it, because even within it, it's fluid. I'm losing track of my train of thought. Let me go back to, how is it doing? I don't think it's doing well. I think when I walk into spaces and we've like created a non-binary character, but we have no sort of real understanding of the context of why that's important or like what it is to be non-binary. Let me go at it this way. In a cis world where two genders exist, we've done a great job in arts of exploring the ranges of those characters and the archetypes of those characters. And they get stereotypical, and there's a problem there as well. But if I were a cis actor walking into playing a woman, which I have, that's how I've lived most of my life, I get to explore sides of my womanhood, let's say, that I don't embody in my normal life. So if I'm a pretty conservative person, I could be really promiscuous. If I'm a really like nice, demure person, I might explore being like really vindictive and bitchy. Like I get to explore these different sides of what it means to embody that gender. I get to be a mother, or maybe I'm someone who doesn't want to be a mother. I'm exploring all of these sides of myself. For non-binary humans, I feel like we don't know what that is yet. Does being non-binary simply mean I get to play a man? No, not necessarily. And it doesn't mean I simply get to play a woman or get to play either or, although that's maybe part of it. But there's also this like, what does that mean to sit in the middle? And what are the variations in this? Because I also don't want to box it in and make non-binary its own gender without allowing it to be lots of things. But how do I explore all facets of this identity? And we have to make our own work, because unfortunately, people who aren't in this experience don't understand that. And that's okay. But until we're at the creative top of it, or the ones directing it, or the ones writing it, which we're starting to get there, I don't think we're going to experience that full expression. I feel all over the place with that answer, because I think that's how I feel inside of it at the moment.
Yeah, I hear that. And just to reflect back and just add a couple, I feel like there's a deep importance in embodying and the multiplicity, the being.
Yeah.
And that actually, in my experience, that is the human experience, is being many things at once. And I feel like part of the problem, capitalism, with the way we operate is that we expect people to be like one or the other. And that actually, like, the binary, it's like there's two stations. It's like, no, there can't just be two fucking stations.
No.
That is impossible to me. So I guess there's something so generative, and as we move forward, that the inclusion and the encouragement and just like more non-binary voices, more voices that don't fit into this binary, and more, I feel like more people are going to be like, yeah, I never did feel good in this box.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and however people are going to identify, I feel like it's so important.
Yeah.
When I look at theater, and you mentioned film, I feel like, I mean, there's people doing amazing things in the city that I love. And I'm like, yes. In general, I feel like there's a conservatism that needs to be kind of cracked open. You find that?
Yeah, it's okay that the conservatism exists and there's a large population that wants to participate in it and see it. Like, yeah, I think there has to be room for all of it. I mean, except there can't be room for hate, but like there has to be room for what they enjoy. Like sometimes you just want to go see, well, lots of people, first of all, I act in Bard. Lots of people come to Bard and want to just see something classic with a new twist-ish on it, but pretty classic. And that's like what really turns them on. And that's okay.
Sure.
And so do I think that there's a conservatism? I mean, maybe you should talk a little bit more about that. And maybe it's just like the people that I frequently see work of or work with, I feel are trying, you know what I mean? And they're moving in different ways. I think the biggest houses in Vancouver, which is just the way it is, they're the oldest institutions. They're the slowest to change because they're big. So it's happening in the smaller companies. And they're doing a great job of paying artists more, having less rehearsal days, of trying content, of trying their darndest to hire the people that should be in the room. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like artists like yourself who are like working across the small companies, doing like things that are really busting things open, and then going and working in like the big houses, which, I mean, I feel like there's great progress. People are trying to like, let's cast, that's a typically male role. Let's cast a woman in that role. Let's change how we're looking at things. So the going back and forth is actually, I think, really influencing things. I can't imagine it's easy.
No.
I have not run a big theater. I have a tiny little dance company. But, you've got your donors, your audience, and they're older white folks.
Yeah.
And, we're trying to do a lot. And I just feel like I just want to also affirm the work of arts. It's huge and it's essential. And I'm going to cry now.
Well, where's the tears, Tara?
Listen, I push it down, Sarah. I push it down.
I felt it. I felt as soon as you said, I was like, oh, and Tara stopped talking.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go over here.
I think there was something you're saying about never running a big company. Yeah, I think there's a few things that I've noticed when you engage with different communities, they show up and they come out. And we've seen that a lot in the smaller companies, which is awesome. Bard has experimented with different, the show they did last year was sort of based on Othello, but I think the entire cast was POC. And I think that brought in a different audience of people who wanted to see themselves on stage that don't always, and spoke to a different content because they're drawing on different lived experiences other than the more prominent white narratives. So we have seen audiences come out to see stuff that is about them, which is great. Last year, Romeo and Juliet, I got to play Mercutio as a man. And that was awesome for me. I didn't want him. Actually, that's not true. I had talked about, is he non-binary? It just wasn't the container where the show was set was not a container to explore different, that side of it. And it wasn't the focus of that. Originally in our talks, when I talked to Anita Rochon, who's directing, I was like, oh my gosh, what if Mercutio is in drag?
Ooh.
What if he's really flamboyant? And
Ooh.
I was like, and then as I realized what era this was set in, I was like, no, that's not going to work. A great idea. And really, but that's not where, but at least I was getting to play. And women have played male characters before. I think as somebody who is gender fluid and often feels most comfortable in the more masculine side of their identity, that getting to play a dude on stage and just be a dude is really nice.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I played a dude. Actually, it was a long time ago. It was elementary school. I've been playing dudes for a long time. I remember just feeling okay, home. There's something so comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played dudes all the way through school too, because there was always way more women than there were men.
Yeah.
And I'm being very binary because that's how it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this now big pushback, I mean, it's happening in the States. And so to remember that it's not the same in Canada, we're not getting the same pushback, but we still are.
Yes.
People fighting against, don't let your kids go to a drag reading or a drag. And I'm like, excuse me.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I played men in drama class in as you said, elementary school. I was playing, and oh no, I played snakes and I pretended to be an elephant. And oh
no, you're going to want to be a snake. You got to be careful sending your kids anywhere where they can pretend to be an animal, because they're going to want to transition to be animals. What's wrong with people?
Well, and this idea that it's new and that it's
not new,
poisoning your kids' minds, and it's because they're seeing it. And you know what? The truth is, when we see ourselves, we're more likely to become ourselves. So yes, people who are living in the wrong body or are living in the wrong gender, when they see themselves, who they know they are inside, expressed in their world, they're going to choose it.
Yeah.
Hopefully they have the ability and the tools to choose it.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, the fear around it is what needs to be combated. And this idea that you're going to convert your kids, it's no, your kids are already that way.
We are who we are, and we need to celebrate everybody, and to stop your kid from being who they are. I just I'm going to cry again.
Yeah, there we go.
I often think about if I'd grown up, if things were different when I was a kid, if there were different options, I was lucky as hell. I grew up in a house full of artists and, gender fluidity, and was my mother always had the same haircut as David Bowie, for example.
Yeah.
And wore 3-piece suits and stuff like that. So it was great. This is great. But it's encouraging. I'm just really encouraged by your work and the work of people here on the West Coast doing incredible things.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. What kind of work do you really want to make as a creator? Because you're also a creator.
Okay, I'm going to say a bunch of things, Tara, because I'm like in the state of the beginning of something. I'm at the beginning of needing a new, comes from wanting to create a role that I want. So I have a real, as much as okay, there's this show that
let it come. Give it time. It's great.
There's this show that I created with Anae West called Polly Queer Love Ballad. And in it, there's this song called, and it's about this, lesbian monogamous meets this bisexual polyamorous person, and they negotiate a relationship with each other. I wrote this song that's like, I'm in it for the long haul. And the lyric is, I think it's, I'm the straightest gay, I'm in it for the long haul. Because it's honestly, my stepmom, I think, said that to me once. As much as I like want more freedom for my gender and all of these kinds of things, I also want some like really traditional classic stuff. Like I really like a good love story. I really want I want to have a kid. I want to have like a marriage. I want to have like all of these quote unquote traditional things that aren't, very progressively queer, if we're going into those. So I want to write a good musical. I want it to be a musical film, but I don't know for sure. I want to write a good musical that's like about a non-binary person that's pretty classic, feel good. You know what I mean? Like they make good choices. At the end of the show, they get to be happy. I notice a lot of art right now. We're really interested in realism, and we want what's reflected in, not all the time, but often we want it to reflect exact real, how it feels to be right now. And so I watch a lot of people make decisions that are hard. And this generation of the 20s and 30s made out to look like they just kind of stay stagnant and don't go anywhere and don't know what they want to do with their lives. I kind of want to combat that. I'm like, no, I want to watch people make good decisions. I mean, there's got to be conflict. Something's got to be happening, but I want to watch them overcome. I want to watch them succeed. I want to watch them be happy. I want to believe that for myself, other gender fluid people, everyone. I want to believe that for everyone. So I have an interest in like creating that. Okay, there's this other side project I have with another friend of mine, Claire Love Wilson, who we do this sort of, we've done it before and I can't wait to revisit it again. We do live song improv looped with sounds that we create with our bodies and the audience, and then like make songs and kind of like tell stories over top of it. And I think we'll start to incorporate more instruments and maybe find more form to that art. But what it really was like sitting in a room with an audience and creating something together. And usually, because Claire and I tend that way, it would lead to joyful stuff or would end happy, or the energy is really up. And it's improv.
Love it.
All happening live. So I have a desire to keep that project exploring. And okay, I could keep going. That's two things.
Obviously, we'll have to do a follow-up interview and talk about how these are going.
Yeah.
I love that. I feel like we need queer in all the different narratives, in all the different ways, and the celebration and like in every corner of life. I love that. Oh, and just to reflect too on your project with Claire, I know Claire from way back, but the process of performing and creating at the same time, which is, you could say improvisation, but I feel like there's something more with what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm super interested in that.
Cool. Yeah.
So yeah, I look forward to hearing more about that. Okay. So is there anything, I know we could go on for like a long time.
Yeah.
Is there anything I didn't ask you'd love to hit in this episode?
I mean, no, you and I love talking about clothing, and
I know
how we need to start our own clothing brand.
We really do.
Yeah.
We really do.
But we need somebody who's good at actually making the clothes.
I know. I can just tell you like what I need. I mean, let's just start out, and listeners, I'm sure many of you have this experience.
Yeah.
But let's just get over the fucking pants that are intended for female identifying people or people with hips or whatever that do not have proper pockets. Can we just stop that fucking bullshit? Because I need to put stuff in my pockets. Don't assume I'm carrying a purse.
Yeah.
I can't even say the word purse without having a bit of an issue.
But do you have the fanny pack?
Yeah.
Tara, have we gotten you one? Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like that's how I think I get around it a lot. I got the fanny pack
Oh, yeah.
strapped around my shoulder.
Full fanny pack. I've been rocking the fanny pack for a long time.
Yeah.
Before it got cool. Just saying. I'm just saying that when it wasn't cool. And it wasn't.
Yeah.
I was not cool.
I remember in college, like wearing a lot of overalls.
Oh, yeah. The overalls, work pants.
I got made fun of for those overalls.
I know.
And then like, it was another 5 years before they came back in or whatever. But I was like, ha.
It's hard to be a trailblazer.
Yeah.
I know. I find this like I'll get into something. It's not cool. My family mostly will make fun of me. That's a wonderful thing about having children. Your child will go like, are you going out like that? Yeah, I am. Why? Because you look kind of dumb. I'll get into something and then I'll like be done with it. And then 2 years later, all the kids are wearing it.
Yeah.
Ah.
I had a bit of a mullet for a bit there
Ooh.
I could find the picture and show the year. And then, yeah, what is that? In the last like 2 years, they've really come back in. And I was like, I didn't keep it for very long because I felt a little self-conscious about it.
Oh, you would look great in a mullet.
I should have just rocked it. Yeah, I should have just left it going.
Oh, I know. But it's hard because you got things to do. You got things to create.
Yeah.
No stagnation.
No.
Okay. Well, we'll have to do another episode where we really get into the clothes and maybe this is a good idea actually. And we go through and we like, how about this celebrity or that celebrity? And, it might have to be a YouTube episode.
Let's get like an actual, going to say costume designer because that's the world we rock in, but it could also just be someone who makes clothes, in the outside world to come in and talk to us about like, I want to understand why it is like, what would make clothes that I want to wear? What could I look like in them?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We need an expert.
We need an expert. Yes. This leads me to think about, there's a costume designer that I'm going to be working with actually on my piece Pants, which is about gender.
Oh.
Sarah Doucette, fantastic queer designer in Toronto. Sarah would have some things to say about that. So many fun things. When does your Bard show open?
It opens, a preview starts June 28th, maybe I want to say.
Okay. Will you be putting like on your Instagram? What do they call it?
Yeah, that's what I should do. Whenever I get on, I'll be like,
yes.
I will have people that hopefully want to, and I would like them to come see me. So I'll post it on Instagram probably the morning of when I find out.
Okay. We'll put Sarah's handle in our show notes. And just for those of you who don't know what an understudy does, understudies are not in no way, shape, or form lesser than the lead actors. In fact, they have to be so good. You want to hire like the best performers in understudy roles because they have to know everything and be able to like, boom, be on there. You're really perfect because you're also such a good improviser.
Ugh, yeah.
So fun. I know, but like, ugh. Boy, nerves.
If it wasn't Shakespeare and I had to stay in like iambic pentameter.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But that would be also delightful.
But it's true. At the same time, everybody's learning their one character. I am learning 4 and don't get to rehearse it like they do.
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited about it. It's why I wanted to do it. I was like, this is going to be hard. And I'm equally as terrified, although, and that's a good thing. I don't think I've been this terrified to do anything in a really long time. So
yeah,
that's probably good.
It's good to do things that terrify the hell out of you. I did my show last week at the Culch and
yes,
the nerves. Holy shit. Like this is not my first rodeo.
No.
But for some reason, like this show also looks super personal anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of ludicrous, my nerves, but they're there for a reason.
Do you find, most of your performance art is in a similar vein of it's like dancey theater performance art. It includes both.
Yes.
It's not just straight dance or like,
no.
So maybe this isn't a question that's going to, but like, what do you think it is about this performance that made you so nervous?
I think because it's me, like it's really me with the audience. It's also like I'm out there for just over an hour. I'm like direct address with the audience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going for laughs, but I'm also going for some hard truths. So it goes from like, ha 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 to, oh, wow, that's uncomfortable. Like just to be the only one out there carrying the whole thing. Once I'm out there, though.
And you're getting pretty naked, right?
Yeah, not fully naked.
Like not fully naked, but you're getting pretty naked.
I'm down in my underwear.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's totally fine. The photographs, there's me in my underwear, so people are not going to be too surprised. Not the first time I've performed in my underwear, but the first time at age 50, I have performed in my underwear. I don't know. It's interesting. It's very interesting, but I also love it. As soon as the lights go down and I'm walking on stage, here we go. Game on.
Yeah. Can I say something about that piece?
Do it.
So I saw it when it was at Progress Lab.
Oh, the film version?
No, I saw it. I was in the room.
Oh.
You climbed?
Yes, that's right.
Maybe it's changed some.
Yeah.
But I remember from that piece one moment where you talked about, I'm not going to remember the exact terms, but like skinny privilege, I guess, or
thin privilege.
Thin privilege. That's the word you use for it. And this is probably going to sound, it's going to sound privileged. It's going to sound a bit ignorant. It's going to sound a few things, but it's also truthful and honest and sad at the same time. Is like when you were talking about thin privilege, I was like, oh my God, I have thin privilege, but I have always thought of myself as, and there are many reasons why, but always thought of myself as not as fat.
Yep.
But the way you stated it, or I remember it being stated, like you can sit in a seat in the plane and feel comfortable sitting in that seat.
Yeah.
And I was like, I too can do that. Oh my God, I haven't been acknowledging my privilege because in our society, I see myself as, and I see myself that way because I've had doctors say it to me, overweight.
Yeah.
Or obese or fat. Anyway, that was just the experience that I had.
And I think that's really important to acknowledge because we can hold multiple things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Both are true, and how hard it is, to walk around in these fantastic bodies that just like grew.
Yeah.
It just arrived here. It's some fucking miracle. And to have our culture shame us left, right, and center.
And plane seats are just too damn small.
They're stupid. It's
nobody else's problem. It's the effing
capitalism. We're circling back to capitalism.
Circle around.
My last question for you, just today though, because I'll have more.
Okay, great.
Is there something or a few things you do to keep yourself creative, to feel healthy as an artist? Anything at all, be it like binge watch, Great British Baking Show. I'm talking about myself, or anything. What do you do?
I think like you ask this with every person. So I was contemplating like how I would answer this. And this creativity for me has always been such a connection with self. And when I am in most harmony with myself, I find my creativity flows easiest or is most authentic, and I enjoy it most. So this year I've been trying to really get healthy, and it's hard. It's been a super hard process. I got an ADHD diagnosis, of which I'm like trying to figure out how that works, and dealing with like learning about seeing that I am like so addicted to sugar, and it really is a problem. And like,
oh yeah,
as I think most people, a lot of other people I talk to identify with that as well. And so there's a few things that I don't do them every day. I wish I did. Going for walks with the dog where I don't have headphones in and all I am doing is being present where I am. With ADHD, I find that I overload my sensories and it's really hard not to. It's like a dopamine crave that's really hard to walk away from. So I'm trying to create silent space in my day, and I'm not always successful at it. But I'd say that that's how I'm trying to help my creative self right now, is with silent space.
Yeah. Oh, I really relate to that one a lot. I tell this to my kid. Yeah, they don't like it when I say this, but let the boredom happen, which I struggle with myself. Let yourself move through that to the point where you're going to start getting ideas, or hearing that bird you haven't heard before, or really seeing your dog's incredibly cute little face, or, all this stuff that's happening to us so quickly. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good one. Thank you so much, Sara.
Thanks for having me.
This has been so fun. We will have another episode with you, my friend.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much, Sara, for sitting down with me and having such a fun and interesting, illuminating conversation. I can't wait to have you back on the show. And thank you so much for listening. You can get in touch with us on Instagram, Tara Cheyenne TCP. Facebook, Tara Cheyenne Performance. Does anybody use Facebook anymore? I don't really look at it. Or email, info@taracheyenne.com. And I do look at my email. I for sure do. So Talking Shit with Tara Cheyenne is a project of Tara Cheyenne Performance, produced, edited with original music by Mark Stewart. You can get in touch with Mark at markstewartmusic.com. And one more time, please share this podcast. Donate if you can. TaraCheyenne.com, upper right-hand corner, that little donate button. And I leave you with this one, a quotation from Isaac Asimov. Creation is embarrassing.
This podcast is effing good.
We need an expert.
We need an expert.
We need an expert.